man, 1991. What a year. Who was on top? Who was on top in 1991 and had everybody dancing on the dance floor? You had the songs The Kissing Game by High Five. Fresh Prince had the song Summertime out during that time. Shanice had the song I Love Your Smile. CNC Music Factory had the song Gonna Make You Sweat. And there was another group too during that time that also had a club hit. The group Damian Dame, who was a male and female duo with the style of hip hop and R&B. Now, let's get into this story, right? But first, I want to start with the female of the group, Dea. Now, Dea Dame was born on September 20th, 1958 in Houston, Texas, but raised in San Jose, California. Now, her father, right, he said as an infant, she was humming out sounds, and as she got older, she was influenced by R&B artists like Denise Williams and Tina Marie. Now, she also sang in the church choir, and by the time she turned 18 years old, she was touring with her older sister and brother-in-law's band. After that, she ended up getting a solo deal with Geffen Records, and in 1983, she released her self-titled album with the singles Hug Me and Squeeze Me and Got a Broken Heart, which was a cover of Prince's Got a Broken Heart Again from his Dirty Mind album. And the single that she put out did hit the Billboard Hot Black Singles chart, reaching number 62 for 6 weeks. Now, around the time going into the late 80s, she ended up meeting Babyface and L.A. Reid from the group The Deal. And during that time, Babyface was taking a break from the group to work on his solo album. Babyface loved her voice and asked her to provide some background vocals for his album. And in October 1986, Babyface released his debut album titled Lovers, and Dea was featured on the song titled Faithful. After that, she did some singing on The Deal's last album titled Eyes of a Stranger, which had one of my favorite joints on that album called Two Occasions. That was my joint right there, especially the live version, Two Occasions. But anyway, during that time, right, Babyface and L.A. Reid was starting to become the go-to guys in the music industry for songwriting. And now, after building a relationship and becoming good friends with Babyface, he got her to provide background vocals for other artists he was working with, like Karen White. She had the song Superwoman and Pebbles, Shalimar, and a whole bunch of other songs. Now, after that, right, Dea started working on her solo demo in hopes of getting another record deal. And a friend of hers let Damian hear her demo. And once he heard it, he wanted to work with her ASAP. Now, let's get into Damian's story, right? Now, Damian was born on September 13th, 1966 in Marshall, Michigan, but raised in Battle Creek, Michigan. Now, see, Damian, he was a child prodigy who taught himself how to play the piano. He played the drums and guitar at a young age when he was like 9 years old. And he was inspired by Michael Jackson and Prince. And around the age of 16, he started playing in clubs in his hometown. By the 80s, he moved to LA to pursue his dreams and joined a group called Shy Boy, playing the keyboard. And he had his own production company called K-Zoo. In 1994, he produced a girl group from Michigan called On Edge, who had a song out called Edge of My Bed. Now, after hearing Dea's demo, he decided to work on some music with her because he was blown away by her singing talent. Now, Damian, he just wanted to play the producer role, but once Dea heard his voice, she pushed him into singing. After working in the studio every day for like 3 months, they were ready to start sending their demo out to record labels to see if they can get a deal. Now, see, around that time, Babyface and L.A. Reid was on fire in the industry, and they had just finished working with Bobby Brown, whose album Don't Be Cruel was selling millions at the time. And Clive Davis loved them and wanted to do a joint venture with Babyface and L.A. Reid because they reminded him of Gamble and Huff. So they did the deal with their own label, which they named LaFace Records, distribute through Arista Records. Now with their own label, Babyface never forgot about Dea. He kept her in mind, and once they heard their demo they was working on, Babyface and L.A. Reid loved the combination of the hip-hop and the R&B mix together they was doing, and he signed them as the first act on LaFace Records. And on April 15th, 1991, they released their first single titled Exclusivity, which spent 2 weeks at #1 on the US R&B chart and peaked at number 42 on the Billboard Hot 100. The following month, on May 14th, 1991, they released their debut album, which it didn't chart on the Billboard 200, but it did peak at number 21 on the Billboard R&B chart though. They did release a couple more singles like Gotta Learn the Rhythm and My Song, Right Down to It, which peaked at number 90 on the Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 2 on Billboard's Hot R&B Singles chart, staying on the chart for 21 weeks. And Right Down to It, that was my jam right there. I still listen to that song to this day. On the album, they had T-Boz and Left Eye, who just signed with LaFace at the time, on a song called 60 Seconds, The Conclusion. And the crazy part is Chili from TLC was a part-time dancer for Damian Dame, and that's how she got connected with TLC and Pebbles during that time, replacing Crystal. Now, like I said, the album didn't really sell, but they did start doing shows, and around 1992, LaFace Records ended up getting the soundtrack for Eddie Murphy's movie called Boomerang. And Damian Dame did have a song on there called Reversal of a Dog that featured TLC, Tony Braxton, and the Highland Place Mobsters. After that, Babyface and L.A. Reid, they got too busy. They was working with other artists. They was in high demand during that time. And plus, now the label was seeing success with TLC, Tony Braxton, Outkast, and Usher, who were all signed after Damian Dame. And they say during that time that Damian Dame were upset with the business that they were doing with LaFace Records, because what people don't know is they was doing a lot of the songwriting and producing for artists on LaFace at the time. Not just Babyface and L.A. Reid. I think Damian was doing a lot of songwriting too. And we all know what happened to TLC and Tony Braxton, who had to file for bankruptcy when they were signed at LaFace Records, dealing with the business side on LaFace Records. On June 27th, 1994, Dea Dame was killed in a car accident in Atlanta, Georgia, just before the group was set to record their second album. Now, rumors say Pebbles was the last person to see her alive, and she left her house drunk that day. Some say she was on a moped, but I don't know if that's true or not. But they did say the accident was very, very bad, horrific. After her death, Damian released his solo album titled Damian 1996, which wasn't released on LaFace Records though. It didn't come out on LaFace Records. It came out on Chip Records and H&H Productions, and he dedicated the album to Dea Dame. And on June 27th, 1996, exactly 2 years after Dea's death, Damian died of colon cancer, only days after his solo album was released. Now, other rumors state he died from AIDS, but I don't know if that's true or not. In L.A. Reid and Clive Davis' book, they really didn't have too much to say about Damian Dame, except they were the first act on LaFace Records. I know singer Kenny Lattimore remade the song Right Down to It on his 2001 album called Weekend, and it sounds pretty good, but it can't touch Damian Dame's original version though. It sounds good though, but it ain't the original version. And you know, for this episode, there wasn't too much info on Damian Dame, and hopefully some of their family and friends comment and put the real story out, give us some insight on what really happened. Or maybe TV One do their story on Unsung. That'll be great too. Dea Dame was 35 years old when she passed, and Damian was 29 years old when he died. R.I.P. Damian Dame.